All right. So again, we have a rare Friday evening AMA with the team here from ChainFactory. So big shout out to everybody who's currently listening in from the Caesars calls and the factory community as well. This will be uploaded afterwards to our AMA channel on YouTube. So definitely make sure if you guys can't catch the full recording, you check it out there. But factory, again, this is a project I heard about a week and a half ago first, was introduced to me by Doc, who's one of their advisors, and he said, definitely keep your eye on this one. These guys have some cool stuff cooking, and I've been really impressed. Obviously, launched on December 27th on Ethereum. You guys have pushed your all-time high on January the 10th. I always like it when that all-time high happens, a week or two after the initial launch. It shows that the community formation is kind of coming along and that people are starting to catch on to the utility that's being built. So let's get to that. You guys are building up an ecosystem around contract deployment, management, as well as, there's a couple different options that people will have. It's not just all about, developing and launching a token. You guys are also going to be able to assist people in creating a DApp for their project, helping to manage some of those utilities that are going to be created as well, which is really cool. So again, there's a lot of informational material that I've seen just from going in and a lot of tutorials that you guys are doing. And for adoption purposes, education and that type of material is so important. So you guys are definitely checking those boxes. And like I said, some impressive partnerships so far with a few different projects that our channel here at Caesar should be familiar with Sentiment AI and OTC just dropping this week. And yeah, again, a lot of momentum the last few days on the chart. Great reception from, those other panelists yesterday on CoinMerge. So I'm really excited for you guys to take the mic and introduce what you're building over there at ChainFactory. And thanks again for coming by for the AMA tonight.
Thanks, Maurice. So yeah, I'm Juniper77. Every time I hear that name, I'm kind of reminded of how a few years ago, I don't know why I chose Juniper77. My name is Ben. So yeah, I got into the space a few years ago, really loved the innovation of what's possible on blockchain. So I am not a developer. I'm from the US, but I'm a small business owner and just love the possibilities. And so really, I've been on the team from the very beginning along with Nathan, and it's just been really a learning experience of what's possible and then trying to build something that we can be proud of. So that's kind of like just a little bit about who I am, but you can also see me on Nathan and I have an Upfront DeFi YouTube channel where we're doxxed and you can see our faces, and we have a good time on the camera with that as well. And then I'll let Nathan introduce himself.
Yeah, thanks. So as Ben said there, I'm Nathan. My screen name is Ndeno. I am one of the core team members of ChainFactory. I'm a project manager in my daily life, and I got into crypto. It was a few years ago now, and kind of dabbled my foot here and there. And then a friend of mine got me further down the web into DeFi, where I had the pleasure of trying to get involved in or investing in a bunch of Ponzi ROI dApps and tons of failed projects. It was wonderful. And then from there is where I kind of met Ben and Michael and the other team members with ChainFactory. So and then Michael, he was on, like they said, he was on the spaces there yesterday. So the three of us are kind of some of the core team members. And we have two other team members that I would be remiss if I didn't mention on here. They couldn't come on the AMA today, but they are our main development team. And without them, we would not be where we are. Our main dev is Christian. He is extremely skilled with somewhere over 20 years of experience in development. And finally, we have another Michael. He's part of the team, and he's proven to be an invaluable developer in many different areas. He's taken on lots of given tasks with ease there. So the five of us, I guess, as a background to who we are, we met in the Discord of yet another failed project, and we started talking about just our frustration, not just financially, but emotionally, and just the feeling that we had that there was a need for change in the space. And whether these failed projects that we were in were from, if it was like a straight up dishonest team or bad contracts, or maybe a team that didn't know their dev was stealing money from the contract. I mean, we've seen all of it. And we were just also tired of being affected by these failed and rug projects, that we knew something had to change. And from this frustration, almost like a phoenix, I guess, like ChainFactory was born. And we've always said that crypto development and opportunity, I mean, we're in a decentralized space, so we feel like it should be meant more for the people, not just the opportunities. Like, the opportunities shouldn't just be there for certain groups of people who can develop on the blockchain, because we also know that there are countless crypto enthusiasts who would have amazing ideas for projects, but lack the ability to code and maybe even the funding to hire a developer themselves. So for myself, I am a non-coder, and I was able to code that factory contract using ChainFactory. So the token that we have was actually built with our software. And then, being a non-coder, when we were talking, I knew that if it was just me and someone gave me a contract, I would struggle to effectively run a project, even if I was given that contract. So from these discussions was kind of where the full idea of a full smart contract ecosystem was born. Because we feel like the contract in itself, it gives you the opportunity, but not necessarily the ability to have a successful project. And so what we've envisioned and what we're creating over at ChainFactory is this full ecosystem to support not only the creation of smart contracts, but their management and the education around them and successful project execution. Because what we want is our users to not only be able, we want them to be successful. So we've been working on ChainFactory for over 6 months now before releasing the token. And through that, our devs, they've written, and then they've rewritten, and then they've rewritten code to make sure that it's something that not only them, but we all can be proud of. And it's something that I am certainly proud to put my name to and be part of. And that is where we're at today. And I think Ben has some more information here on kind of the Forge and the other different DApp builders and everything that Maurice had talked about in the intro there.
No, so before we throw it back to Ben, I do just want to say thanks again, guys, for giving us that introduction and some background, obviously a bit of an overview on what led you to create the project here at Factory. And, with regards to the token forge itself, like you are really accurate in your statement in terms of like it's that line to walk. We've seen other deployers, there's other deployers that exist within the space, but it's that after fact, right? It's anybody can technically deploy it, but that doesn't mean anything, right? Because what happens often is you don't have the connections, you don't know how to manage a community, you can't handle the negativity on that first dump. If you're, a first-time project manager, I know that would drive a lot of people out of it. So there's so many like layers outside of just deploying a CA onto the blockchain that results in, success. And, success can be shorter term and, run its course, but ultimately you don't want projects launching through your protocol without giving them the tools, right? And that's why I think so many of these deployers have failed in the past. And that's why I like that you guys touch on that introduction, which is a reason for your creation of this, and more so a focus on the education and onboarding side. So I will throw it back to you, but I just wanted to say, I like the identification, and I very much agree with that fact.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, that's perfect, Maurice. Yeah, it's true. Like we knew we needed to create the deployer to really like start the process of building out our whole ecosystem. But we also knew by creating our deployer, for a lot of people, we then almost just became labeled, oh, you're just another token deploying utility. What's so great about that? So it is important for us to like get that vision out there of like, we our intention was never to just launch our first utility, which is out now, which is we call the Token Forge. It was always just the beginning of a lot of development that's already happened, because we knew we were going to keep putting out more utilities, because the whole agenda for us is this greater vision of like, how can we help people have successful projects? And I love that we are actually kind of like the test case, like our own token of like showcasing if we can do it with our own software and all the utilities down the road with our software, then like we can prove to the space like what we've created is legit and good and mimicable for other people to use and have their own successful projects. So I could talk a little bit about our Token Forge maybe in a little more detail, and then maybe what our next few utilities are that are coming out.
Well,
If
maybe
that
we
makes
go
sense
into
to you.
the utility or the nitty gritty of the actual ecosystem. I would love to walk it back and maybe just introduce Factory as a token itself, and maybe walk through
Yeah.
some of the tokenomics and the base level details on what you guys have going on within your token, and then we'll jump into more of the utility from there.
Yeah, so Nathan will be able to share. He kind of has a portion prepared talking about the purpose of our token. So I'll just say, as a team, we thought through a lot of like, we're used to being token investors and having that question asked to teams like, why do you have a token and how does your token have value? So we knew that like if we were going to go the route of, we had this idea for this building of this ecosystem, but now we felt like the proof of concept, we needed to have our own token launched with our own software. But then we knew if we were going to do that, we had to give that token supreme value and even kind of learn from other projects in the space and where they failed maybe giving value to their token. So I'm going to let Nathan share a little bit about where does the value lie in kind of the tokenomics of our token.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. So with just kind of general token information, tokenomics, we have a max supply of 75 million Factory, and we put 60%, 45 million of those into the DEX liquidity. We have 20% waiting for staking rewards, and then we put 14.5% into an ecosystem fund, which we could use for helping with influencers or whatever, like marketing or whatever we needed as far as building that ecosystem. And then we had 5.5% that went to team tokens, which will, once we get our vesting, they're all locked right now, and then those will be vested once we get the staking and everything going, and we're going to build our own vesting scheduler and stuff. So that's kind of the basic tokenomics. We've got a buy-sell fee of 5% and 5%. On the token on launch day, one of the functions that we have as part of the Forge is an anti-sniper function. And we set the buy-sell taxes to 40% and 40%. And there was also a transfer tax of 40% on that. And so with that anti-sniper, any wallet that bought during that period was taxed on 40% on their buy. And then once the period was over, their wallet address was flagged. And so even if they decided to try and transfer out to another wallet, or if they tried to wait until that period was over to sell, they were still taxed that 40%, which is different from a lot of the anti-sniper functions that are out there. From what we've seen, most of them will end at the end of that anti-sniper period. And so we didn't snipe our own token. We waited until that anti-snipe was
we watched
over,
the market cap rise very quickly.
Yeah, we certainly did. So we wanted it to be fair. So we waited until that was done to make sure that it was fair, and then released the contract on a fair launch there. So those are some of the basic tokenomics. And then I want to go through some of the utility that we had put into the token, because I think without the utility, the token isn't really anything more than just a token. And when we were discussing ChainFactory, we hadn't even really first thought that we would have a token. And so once we decided on including a token in this, we really wanted to have utility that made sense and something that we knew that would be beneficial for the community. And so we thought, well, maybe we could do discounts or revenue shares, or what could we do? And we kind of settled on, well, why don't we do it all? So factory investors can stake their tokens once staking goes live. And then if you stake your tokens, 50% of the generated revenue will go back to those holders who have staked their tokens. We're going to have 3 different pools. There will be a 14-day, a 28-day, and a 58-day stake, where 5% will go to the 14-day, 30% of the revenue would go to the 28-day, and then 65% of revenue would go to the 56-day stake. We do understand that, until the full ecosystem is up and running and generating true revenue, that the rewards will be small. And so we didn't want people who have believed in us and held the floor with us and trusted in us to not have anything while they were waiting for all of this to come, because as you had said, Maurice, there's a lot to it, and there's a lot to build too. So we don't have everything done. We are continuing to roll out different options and tools as we go along here. So what we did is we opted to support that revenue share with trading fees through a decentralized LP system. So, when people buy and sell, we generate taxes from that. And then from those taxes, we can provide liquidity, receive LP tokens, and then those LP tokens will be shared with the stakers based on those staking ratios I mentioned above. So we've got the revenue share, and we've got the staking and the LP, the decentralized LP system. And we didn't stop there, because we wanted people to benefit not only from staking and having the token, but also in using the tool. So what we thought was, people who stake their tokens will also be entitled to receive discounts on the use of the ChainFactory software. And that would be on a sliding scale based on the number of tokens staked. And the numbers we've got are, if you stake between 0.1 and 0.49% of supply, the users will receive a 10% discount. Staking 0.5% to 0.99% yields a 25% discount. And then if you've got a big bag and you want to stake it all, staking 1% or more of supply gives you a 50% discount on that software offering. So, not only are we working to build that full ecosystem around contract development, we're trying to support the investors as well through solid tokenomics and rewards on having that token and staking that token.
I love that. And again, I love the kind of mentality you guys have about trying to interconnect the utility into the token versus having, all the utility or maybe the value lie outside within the platform of the token forge or whatnot. So now I do have a couple questions with regards to, and maybe it'll be best for you guys to go ahead and introduce the token forge, after you hear my question. But what are some of the benefits now, like token holders? Like, for example, as you guys scale up and start to generate some forms of revenue or fees from the services you're providing, like how can that token further benefit those individuals who hold it, which kind of, push intrinsically the value kind of that up as well?
That's a good question. Ben, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, so like we have a wallet already established where revenue is going from people that will be using the forge. And then the same thing will be true of any of the utilities coming out, that any of the revenue that's coming from those it's public, so people will see how much revenue there is. And that's all stuff that will be again, the tricky part is, our investors are like anxiously awaiting for this staking utility because that's where the revenue shares are going to be coming from. But like we said, the whole plan is as we go forward. Right now, staking is kind of like priority 2, and priority 1 was getting the forge out and publicly released. So we used it to create our token, obviously, and we recorded that on video so people could kind of see the proof of concept. And then the next thing is our multi-signature utility wallet builder, basically, so that people can have some sort of security around having team proposals and really having like that extra layer of security that we don't often see in token projects, where you see these people that often have a based team, or there's just a lot of influence there where you trust these team members, but then all of a sudden one of them kind of rugs the project. Well, we want to quickly have that utility in our own project, but we want to be able to build it with our utility. So the multi-sig is coming, and then after that will be our staking DApp builder. So that's and then we will then be able to build our staking through that builder ourselves. And again, all that will be on video as like a proof of concept of how to do it. So once that's ready, like all those rewards will basically be ready to start being shared with stakers.
Yeah, and that true cash flow would come from the back end products and services as well. So we've got like the DApp builder and pre-sales and advising. That's where kind of more of that true cash flow comes from.
Some kind of like from a revenue model, almost like a stake to earn setup in that sense.
Yeah, we felt like it was important to not just give rewards to like all token holders, but to really promote staking. I think we've found that to be helpful with most projects that we've seen.
Will there be a way, like through the staking protocol, like will there also be a way for people to maybe add in liquidity or create maybe separate liquidity pools on which tokens that get deployed through the token forge could function off of? Not sure if that would be something that you guys are also working in.
I would say that we are completely open to figuring out ways that deployments on the forge are somehow able to benefit factory token holders for sure. So it's benefiting long-term holders with everything we're doing is definitely a priority for us.
About as deep as I could go on that question, because I'm not like, somebody who understands the full dynamics of creating, these external liquidity pools. But as you guys support multiple EVMs, that may be something that as you scale and want to have the additional almost like levels or tiers within the project also it's going to benefit factory kind of from a safety or a strength of the token standpoint too. So yeah, like just something.
Yeah, we also have a vision of like having a cross chain bridge where, because we know we're on ETH, like it might not make the most sense to be claiming rewards and things like that on ETH, especially if it blows up here in the immediate future. So our desire is to have a bridge to Arbitrum as well, so that it's a much simpler process to kind of go one-to-one and receive rewards without such heavy gas fees involved.
Awesome. No, I appreciate that. And again, something that would be more of a future consideration, but kind of came to mind based on what you guys were saying about the token and how it functions there. So awesome.
Yeah,
now, I will. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, just thinking on the LP. So, anyone could add LP to any token. Like on a DEX, anyone can do it. So we certainly aren't preventing anyone from adding LP if they were to choose to do that themselves.
Now, I will throw you the mic back if you wanted to go ahead and start to actually introduce the token forge and how like the setup and onboarding, account creation, and everything's going to work from that perspective. Now, I don't know if you think this would be the best time to run through the live demo, or if you'd rather just do the audio and kind of introduce it first, and we could save the demonstration for maybe a little bit later
on. Yeah, I mean, I could go through that. I could go through and kind of introduce it and just do the whole demo right now if we wanted to do that.
Defer to you and Ben on that in terms of what you think the best flow would be if you think introducing the demonstration while you're talking through the token forge, and that way you can show
I can maybe give a short little intro to the forge to just give a little bit of a why it, so that kind of when Nathan shows it, you kind of have an idea of what were we thinking behind it, because we know that it's not the first token deployer that's ever, or generator that's existed, if that makes sense, Nathan.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
Sounds good.
So I think it's fair, to question what's maybe unique about our forge. And so I think there are some attributes that are, even though it's not the first of its kind. So we think that the totality of our ecosystem could very well be the first of its kind, but our deployer maybe would not be seen as that way. But I think it's unique because we decided kind of early on as a team, we wanted it to be web UI based. We definitely preferred that model. We felt like it suited kind of where we wanted to go with our educational tools and the idea of forming an academy about how to use it and how to, where we knew that UI, kind of web UI, was where we'd want to go with maybe all of our utilities that people can create. So we started with that. We wanted it to be a simple web UI. We wanted to offer tooltips and tutorials. Like I said, we even have a lot of videos on kind of what are the functions that are available to the users through our token forge, which was huge for us. And then, we've mentioned there's actually a Twitter thread on this anti-sniper function that we have. But there are kind of two unique features, I think, to our forge that we wanted it to be really fully customizable, so that, especially for utility projects that are kind of in it for the long haul, to be able to for one, renounce specific aspects of their functions that they choose instead of just renouncing the whole contract, which I think is really unique to us. So we have a management tool that when you launch a token through the forge, you're able to manage those unique functions that you chose, which Nathan actually did a video of us renouncing our blacklist after we had a successful token launch. We kind of showed our community, hey, this is how you renounce the blacklist on your contract, and you cannot change it without actually having to renounce everything. So we don't have a fully renounced contract ourselves because we didn't want to do that, because we feel like for utility projects, if you trust the team, it tends to not make sense to necessarily renounce the whole contract. Our community seems to be totally down with that, and so that's been awesome to see. So we have this anti-sniper function that, feel free to look into the Twitter thread that we have. I don't want to get too deep into it, but I think it's really valuable. People love fair launches, and a lot of people don't love the post blacklist of a fair launch sometimes, when it's like, hey, we had a lot of snipers, so let's just blacklist them all. It's kind of cool to just kind of pre-announce to your community, hey, we're going to have an anti-sniper function. Everybody knows about it, and you try to prevent snipers that way. And we also have an adaptive tax function in the forge where creators can be empowered to adjust taxes based on larger transactions, which can really help with massive whale dumps where maybe they accrue slightly higher tax depending on what percentage of tokens they are selling, which I think can be really valuable depending on what kind of a project you're trying to do. So those are kind of just two of the small things that I just feel like as you watch the forge, as Nathan shows it, even though the forge is really kind of your first step into everything we want to introduce to our users, I think even as a first step, it is pretty remarkable and intuitive to use. And I think with our education tools, it's pretty cool the amount of types of contracts that can be built with it beyond just a simple meme token or whatever else. So that would be my first little intro into what I love about the Forge.
I love everything about it though, Ben. Okay, so on my screen, I think we'll go through and what I'll do is I'll run through the Forge itself, and then we can deploy one right here. We'll do it on Sepolia. So I think Michael is asking if he can be unmuted, and then he can answer some tech questions.
Okay, yeah. I tried to unmute him earlier, but I don't think it pulled his hand up, so that's sometimes just a Telegram thing. He should be up now. Hey, Michael. Awesome. Happy Friday, man.
Or Saturday for you, Michael, maybe.
Yeah, I guess it may have crossed the line, eh? I know for my coordinator, Vlad, who's helping out. Vlad, what is it for you there now, 1 or 2 a.m.?
It's already 2 a.m.
1 a.m.
Attaboy. And Michael's won and Vlad's at 2.
You guys are champions. Thanks for staying up so late for us.
All right, so Nathan, if you want to go ahead, and I see your screen, it's looking clear. You could get going and introduce us. And you mentioned you're going to deploy on the Sepola test network, so that's awesome.
Yeah, so we'll just jump right into it. So this is our landing page when you go to ChainFactory.app, and if you want to go to the Forge, you just click on Enter here, and it takes you right into our token builder right now. And or this isn't the token builder itself. It takes you right to your account page. So I've already connected my wallet. I didn't have to go through that, but you can connect basically any wallet that you would want to the system here. And we've got, right now, our Forge is live on Ethereum and Arbitrum, but we will have it so that you'll be able to launch on any of these other chains here. When you come in, you go right to your account. So what you would do if you wanted to do a deploy is you go to your new deploy here, and I'll just click on that. And then this is where everything will happen. So when you connect your wallet and stuff, this is one thing that we wanted to make sure we were different than other token builders out there. There are a lot that are on Telegram, and you have to input your private key. And we knew that was not the route that we wanted to go down. So it's just a Web3. You can disconnect your wallet once you're done. You don't have to leave it connected. That is a way that we wanted to bring security and safety to the people that are using the tool. And so I'm in new deploy, and then the one that we've got open right now is token. So we can deploy an ERC20 token, and it brings us right into this token builder. And so the way that we set this up is we wanted to make everything modular. So you get to pick whatever you want to have in your contract. And then once your contract is deployed and verified, it only has the specific functions that you have put in there. There's no extra code involved with your contract, because we wanted to reduce gas fees as much as possible for people, because we're thrifty and we want to make sure that we're able to allow other people to be thrifty on theirs as well. So once we go through here, I can talk about deploying and what we've done for the gas fees on that as well.
Yeah, so I did want to have you touch on, Nathan, and again, I appreciate for the start of the introduction. So maybe if for those newer people out there, and I'll use an example recently of a narrative that came up, with the releasing of like the OG Mickey into the public domain. What happens if you were like somebody who's like a big Disney fan, right? You've been following the story for like a year, but you don't have any idea how to code, right? And you wouldn't know what you would need in a successful contract to really, again, make it attractive for people, because maybe you're not familiar with DeFi or crypto. So like what I wanted to, like, when you're going through it, just be sure to touch on some of like the tools and tips that you guys provide for more of a support factor for people that maybe are unfamiliar, but could have some of these really unique or genuine ideas that have proven to run in the past.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you touched on that, because I probably would have glazed over that. Because I know, especially for me, right, non-coder, when we were looking at this entire thing and the idea behind it, and we were talking about what functions we might want in the factory contract, I had no idea what might be good to go with, what function may work with another one or may not work with a different one. And so what we did for that is we created a lot of tooltips. And so that's like on here right now. We tried to put as much information as we could in them, and then also give ideas on, here's the variable, here's what it should be, on the initial supply. It should range between these two numbers, because someone new might say, I'm going to put 50 trillion or something like that, and not realize the implication of all of that. So that is something that we did put that into. We also do have, we have some tokenomics videos that Ben's created, and he goes through and he talks about every single function that we have and says, this is what it is, and the basic tokenomics of it and how it reacts and pertains to the factory. So Those are coming soon, and they'll also be on the webpage here, where you could just click the little button and it'll take you to that specific video, so you don't have to try and have our YouTube page up at the same time as you're trying to do all this stuff. And so it's really as simple. Like when you first come in here, you get to the basic details. That's kind of the meat and potatoes of your token. So we could certainly do we can do our own token right for this AMA here right now, right? We could do, call it Caesar's AMA, symbol will be 8. The decimals, it's normally an 18 decimals, like as we have in the tooltip here, but you could change it if you would wanted to change that. You then get to put in your initial supply, so we could put 1 billion tokens if we wanted to.
9 decimals.
Was it 9?
No, could be 9 on
it could be,
Ethereum.
yeah.
Like,
and then, so then what we have is we've got all these different modular options. So we've got the transfer ownership one here. That one, if you wanted to enable it, it would allow you to transfer that ownership of your contract once it's already been created. We don't need to put that one on for the sake of doing this one. This one's the initial supply recipients. So that would be upon deployment, where are those tokens going to go? You could select it and put in different wallet addresses if you wanted to, or if you just leave it blank, all of the tokens upon deployment would go to your wallet that you chose to deploy with. So you could turn that on, and then you can add more in here if you wanted to have different wallet addresses and stuff added to it.
Actually, a question that I'll maybe throw to you that I was sent from one of our community members is, do you guys have the ability for like multiple wallet connects when somebody's setting up or going in there? Yeah, that was just a question that was sent over. So just while you're on the topic of connecting a wallet, maybe we'll just throw
like multiple wallets that would be connected to that deploy.
Yeah, like I don't know if he's asking on like if different wallets would be able to connect to the same account to manage different contracts, or if each wallet is unique to your account. I guess maybe would be a better way to position the question.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So each wallet has its own unique account. And so if you were working with a team and you wanted to all be able to get in there and manage the contract once it was done, you would have to be able to trust that team and share your own private key amongst each other to log in and be managing that deployed contract in here. We do have a multi-sig that would be an area where multiple people will be able to manage that contract. And it's going to be something that if you have multiple people on a team, that's where this is handy, because you can create proposals and the team can vote on them, and it would be a separate web UI tool. And so then nothing can be changed without the votes of that many people. And then you've got kind of that management after the fact, instead of having to share any private keys and rely on one person to be doing the management. And that would be kind of an external web page to manage those token contracts through that multi-sign. So this is kind of the first part there. And then once you click on next.
I just appreciate that clarification there. And thanks for the question, Chris.
Yeah, that was a great question. So this next part, it's as simple, right, as just clicking next, and you go through and you get to build more and more and more on your token. You start at the bottom and then you get more features added on as you go along. And so we've got kind of the basic ones, right? Mintable, where if you wanted to add more supply, you could. Burnable, if you wanted to be able to burn tokens. I mean, we can add that on here, right? Let's add that on, and that function now, once we deploy, will be added to the contract. We've got the blacklist, which if you wanted to blacklist wallets, some people see it as security, other people see it as a detriment to the project. You can turn that on, and it's the same, similar as the initial supply where if you had an address, you could add it in here, and then you can just click this button and you can add more and more and more as you go down. Whitelist, similar to the blacklist, where you could turn it on, and then those whitelisted wallets don't pay the taxes. We do have a cooldown function as well, and then we've got obviously a tooltip here. So this is a good one for the tooltip because it kind of goes through a quick little rundown of the cooldown function, kind of gives almost a bit of a warning, right? Or not really warning, but just saying it can impede the timely transactions, creating frustration. So it kind of gives an idea of if you enable this function, this is what might happen. And then it also talks about the variables that would be in there. So if we open this up, we've got 3 different variables that we then go through and try and lay out an idea of, okay, with these ones, with this function, these are the variables and this is the information you would put in there. The whitelist function, I guess I missed that, but it is useful if you're adding LP because you wouldn't be affected by the taxes. So it is something that you may want to consider adding into your contract. Max balance per wallet is a great safety feature. It stops one wallet from getting too much of your supply. And so that's one when I've been just playing around and building tokens, just out of habit, I always put that one on. And if we were, just building a meme token with this, that's one that I would want to put on this. So then we also have a max transferable amount. It's in percentage based on supply again, if you wanted to limit the amount that one wallet could transfer in a single transaction. Recovering foreign tokens. So I don't know if everyone's done it, but I know it's happened. It certainly happens where you accidentally send tokens to a contract instead of sending them to your wallet or sending them to another wallet. And so we do have a function where, this is something where you could put it on as a benefit to your investors and saying, someone could message and say, hey, I screwed up, I put this on there. Well, the owner can recover these foreign tokens from their contract. Pausable, that's a sticking point with some people. They really hate pausable contracts. So it is one that you can choose to put on or you can not choose to put on just based on how you want your contract to form. Giving yourself that option to stop the trading for a little while if you had to fix something, but knowing that if you pause your contract, that's going to create a lot of uncertainty and fear and everything in your community. So one that I would add with extreme caution if you were adding it, because once you create the contract, once it's deployed and on the blockchain, they're immutable. Like you can't add functions, you can't take functions out of it. You can renounce individual functions on ours, but we've noticed on ours, like on CoinGecko, if you look on our token, it shows that we can change different functions of the contract. And that's really part of, we've done it a service for people wanting to give them the full management of their contract by being able to renounce individual functions. But then in a way, it's also saying, oh, well, they can change this. So we've had lots of questions on that, but to me, it's not a bad thing. If I wanted to be able to, if I accidentally put on pausable and I meant to put on this permit function, I could renounce that and then I could still have the other functions in the contract where I could change the max balance per wallet if I needed to down the road. So the permit function, so that is a way that you don't have to approve the spend limit on the token in your MetaMask. This allows it to go through. So then there's a holder list. If you wanted to get a list of all the holders of your contract, you would be able to turn this on, and then it would enable you in your management area to be able to get that list. Firing through here. So then the next one is the
I'll just jump in with a quick question. So say for example, with the I'll connect this back to the multiple wallet or the multiple accounts. Like, if somebody wanted to have multiple accounts, they would need multiple wallets. Well, one thing I'm curious about is like, what happens if they're using like one or two to try and like, obviously build up legitimate projects, but then they could be using like what would be known as Telegram as like alt accounts, right? To maybe farm or create money or additional funds to put into those others, right? So like that's one of the things that you guys have to be wary of as people are coming to try and utilize the platform. So like what are some of the safety mechanisms or safeguards that you guys would put in place that could maybe have the accounts interact with one another? Like, I just don't know, right? Because it's all kind of anonymous through the blockchain. Unless one account sends another account funds, you wouldn't really know.
Yeah, that's true. And we've certainly done everything we can to put safety measures in place, all the while knowing that we can't prevent people from being bad people. Unfortunately, like the final user, they could always find a way to scam or do something that would be bad. But what we've done is we've tried to create the best product with code that people can trust, that in the code there isn't some kind of a backdoor that's siphoning anything out or doing anything like that. The way that we tried to add security would be in the multi-sig wallet. So in that multi-sign wallet, you could have 5 wallets, and you could have all the full team members signing on those proposals. So we do know that 100% security and safety, it's not something that we can have because, like you said, it is the blockchain. It's anonymous, but we're trying to do everything we can through like a liquidity locker and vesting schedulers and the multi-sign wallet that people will be able to create, so that people will be able to see it if a contract is launched on ChainFactory and it has the LP locker and it has the vesting scheduler and it has the multi-sign wallet, that they should be able to trust that that team is trying to do everything that they can as well to make sure that it's on the up and up. I hope that answers your question.
Definitely does. And again, I know that you guys are mindful of that. I know like it fits into your mantra, right, of wanting to give people the tools to succeed. And obviously within that mentality, you don't want people to just come in and take advantage of what you're building to take people's money or liquidity out of the space. So no, great answer. And obviously, there still will be bad actors. You can't prevent everything from happening. And I always do say that, but you can do as much as you can control. And I think everybody can understand that, as
Yes.
I feel like one of the main ways, we're attempting to foster that as much as possible is through kind of education, the development of this kind of academy where we're trying to offer the appropriate tools to train people appropriately. And then also like doing our best to only promote people who are doing it the right way, in a sense, like, ticking off all the boxes and using our tools in the way that's showing as much safety as possible. So I think that's going to be a huge part of, I think we want to be the kind of platform where the people that use us and are launching from us and who we are partnering with or promoting through our ecosystem, like a part of that promotion basically or advising role is doing the things necessary to show transparency to the community and really making sure that that's like fundamental in how we're doing it as a project, so that it's just kind of assumed that that's really the nature of who we are. So if anybody's going to work with us, we're going to want that from them as well.
Yeah, and I guess another thing that I didn't touch on before was we did get, we pre-built a token that had every single function enabled, and we sent that token for an audit to Spywolf. And that audit is in our Git book, so you can see all their comments and you can see everything. And they went through every single function. And so people that launch with us or use it, or investors who see that it's a ChainFactory token, they can know that all of the functions that are added to these contracts have been audited by an auditing company as well.
Perfect. No, I appreciate you touching on that, guys. Anything that you can showcase to make sure, because that's one of the perception things. I think that's the thing from a token deployer that hurts. It's not even the token deployer, the utility, it's the perception around it just because of the misuse potentially of other platforms. So I love your attitude, and definitely see through the videos and the tutorials that you guys have put together before even launching this, that you guys really are trying to, practice what you preach in that sense.
You're doing what we can, man. Okay, so then we'll head over, if we just hit next here, we'll head over to the DEX and taxes section. And so in here, if you want your token to be able to be tradable, you need to implement the DEX router. And then you have to pick a DEX router address. So on Sepolia, the only one that we've got here is the Uniswap. It's fine because we're not actually going to be trading this one. And then you can add in, like, you can pick your minimum swap percentage for that, so that you can, you can enable these different options. And then the trading, once enabled, is something that, you keep that off. That's what I would do, is keep this off until you've had the time to get your feet under you, because I know we, even with having some seasoned developers, even with our token launch, we were, adding liquidity and trying to get our feet underneath us and trying to communicate with everyone. It was nice to be able to say, okay, we've got the LP added, we've got everything ready to hit enter once everything goes. Okay, let's enable trading now. So leaving this off before you start trading is a really good option. And then, you pick your DEX router address. The minimum swap here, it's for the auto swap that is, that's the collected taxes. So if you have taxes on your token, it auto swaps into your wallet that you designate for those taxes. And so when you have this on, you don't have to then always manually swap, but it is something that you have to be wary of. And it was one thing that we changed multiple times throughout the day as the LP grew and as people were buying and trading the token. It's something that you do have to keep an eye on, and you do have to manage to drop or increase as the liquidity changes. So this would be modified in the deployed contracts management tool, that we can look at that once we've deployed this token. That would probably go well in taxable, but I think that's something that the dev was thinking of looking at moving around there once we continue on here. So then in the taxable, if we wanted, we could add taxes to this token. And this is where you would add that really cool anti-sniper penalty function that I had explained before. And you can also make it a reflection token and give dividends to your holders through the taxes section. And to add taxes, it's as simple as putting in the address that you would want to have the beneficiary as. You could add a transfer tax or leave it as 0. And then you can add a buy and a sell tax. And then if you added the anti-sniper penalty in here, it would just add, all it does is it adds a time that you would have. So the time is in seconds, and that's the period in which that anti-sniper is enabled for, I guess, the buy tax. And then once that's off, your normal taxes would be implemented. And then you would just add in your penalty taxes as you want to see them, and then you would be good to go. We do also have an adaptive tax. So if you wanted to, you could say, I don't want people transferring or selling more than this many of my tokens. And you can have it on a sliding scale. So if they transfer too many tokens at a time, I guess I can open that up. You have a multiplier that you can add here, and you can say, okay, based on this number of tokens, I'm going to apply a multiplier to the tax to increase that tax as it goes up. Because we're just building a simple little token here, I'm not going to have that. But if you enable these tokens or these taxes, all of them could be individually renounced in that management UI. And there's a master switch in there that you can disable it and everything. The minimum distribution, I guess I forgot about this one. This % is the auto distribution for dividends that would go to holders if you enable this distribution to holders. Because we're just doing a simple function, I'm going to take taxable off here, or a simple contract. And then I'm going to hit next, and you get to your header. So the header is the top part of the contract. If you wanted to, you could go to an ASCII editor and you can put you could have your own cool logo in here with an ASCII to text. And then you could add in your social information and all that, or you can turn that off. And then you can pick the sliders for what you would want to have. And you can have,
while you're just demonstrating that, I'll throw a quick question to you now. Would there be any functions or options that would send a red flag potentially to the token forge if a developer or deployer was trying to select them, maybe stating they may have some malicious intentions, or there may be some potential for some concern down the line? Like, what would be the alert or functionality like within the system that may come up?
I don't think there's anything that would actually flag us as saying that they have malicious intent when they're putting these into it. But the automatic audits that we have, they would flag the pausable and the blacklist. Or I guess we have automatic audits that flag those pausable and the blacklist. And then the high taxes. So if I were to go and put in too high of taxes, and we did a VC on Tuesday, and I tried putting some taxes in for the anti-sniper penalty, and I put in too high of taxes because Christian had lowered the maximum amount of tax that we could put on those for just some changes to the system. And I didn't realize that. So I was trying to go through and it said it was too high for the tax. So it just wasn't letting me even proceed to do my deployment with having a taxes. So if someone put taxes that were at like 99%, it's not going to let them because we have upper limits that are built into it. And then Dex tools and
Perfect. I appreciate that, Nathan.
Yeah, for sure. And then just one other thing is that Dex tools and other relays, they have automatic audits to score your token. So if you have something that's too high or a function that isn't really readily used or isn't a good one to have, it will flag those on those sites as well. So if I had all of these socials, we have a website, we could add our Twitter, we could add all of that stuff. I don't have any of that for this, so I'm not going to add it. And then we have this advanced compiler. So this is an area that's more for people who are development minded, where you can change the contract name. So if we wanted to, we could change this. And that's going to be that first part of the contract name that comes into the contract. And then we could change our optimization runs. The optimization runs, the higher it is, the lower your gas fees are when you are buying or selling this specific asset. I guess one thing with Dex tools I should touch on, just a plug for ourselves, is we do have a 99 out of 99 on Dex tools, even with all of these functions in there. So it's pretty sweet.
Just took 14 days for them to realize it.
Yeah, that's all. So then if I'm, yeah, that's right. So then if I'm going through, I would just click next and I get to a really, really nice summary page. So as I'm building this, I probably have a list somewhere of the functions that I wanted to add into it. And I can cross-reference to make sure that I picked the right ones. And you can even see the variables so that you can make sure that you've got the right information in there. And then all it is it's a simple next over here to see the total cost of that token. And then we can proceed to the deployment. And when we're doing the deployments, or I guess I have to sign that first, we don't take anything extra on those deploys. All we take, or we don't take it. All the cost is the cost of the blockchain to actually deploy that contract. And so it pops up, it's a simple a transaction request, so I confirm that. And then what we do is we just wait for it to go and deploy and do its thing. Elevator music or something. Oh, we didn't even need elevator music. So you can automatically add, what's that?
I was gonna say you'll see that depending on the chain you're using. So obviously Ethereum is going to be one of the more expensive chains for deploying a contract as far as the gas goes. So, but you are not
If
paying
I
any
could,
more than the actual gas.
if I could
Go ahead, Michael.
just add, because Nate said that the higher you set your optimization runs, you will pay less fee. It's actually, that means that during the deployment, you as a deployer, the higher the runs you set, you will pay more deployment fee, but your users will pay less per transaction. So you are basically taking in mind your users rather than your fees on deployment. That's clear.
Thanks for clarifying that. And then that's what we got. We've got our own little token here that we created. It's on Sepolia. The contract is not verified on test nets. It's only verified on the main nets so that we can avoid copy paste of the code. And it was as simple as that. Once we click done here, if we wanted to, we can go into this deployed contracts and we can find, I have to refresh this. We can find our token here, and then this is where we would be able to manage the different functions. You can change those. Once you go, if you change a variable, it's just a simple, you change it, you click update, and then in your wallet, you would have to approve that transaction. And I think that's probably good. Maybe I don't want to go too far into this one. Maybe we need to give an update and show people how to manage their deployed contracts.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I don't know, because I know the contract manager is going to be having some updates coming to it in the near term, which is obviously exciting. But wanted to have you maybe touch on what, you showed some basic functionality, but what education you guys are going to do when it comes to like managing the contracts once they're deployed, because I think that's the second side of the equation. You don't have to go into like this tool, but more so like the tutorials and like the resource provision that you guys will be looking to build up and help them with.
Yeah, absolutely. I could touch on it a bit, and then I'm sure Ben will have stuff he wants to say there. I know for myself, I've been taking actual notes and some kind of mental notes as well on all of the items that I didn't know, as far as, okay, great, we built this contract. What the heck are we doing? And having some really solid developers around saying, Kate, we need to change our swap percentage. We need to change this. I've been making those mental notes. I've been writing them down so that once we get to it and start creating that material, it would be, okay, you've created your token. Now what? And those are like what I want to try and do is pretty much anything that I had a question on and that I think people might have a question on. I feel like we need to have a video for that, or else we're not providing everything that we properly can.
Yeah, I think it's important for...
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Ben. I was going to say, I know that's one of the things that we talked about, maybe putting together more of a short form kind of onboarding video to help you guys out.
Yes, I think that's what's really cool is I think the more people that are interested in what we're doing and interested in making sure that we're promoting doing things the right way, I think it's like an awesome opportunity for like the community to also kind of help us and like telling us, hey, what's the material that's really needed? What are the things that people are struggling with? And so obviously we can come up with a lot of that ourselves. And Nathan and I love being on video, and so if video is a way that people learn, we want to create video content. If reading is how people learn, we want to do more Gitbook and like showing the interactions on the site with text. If it's tooltips, doing that. If it's literally just discussions on Discord, we have a Discord that's created because we know people are going to have questions and we know people are going to want to help each other. So there's really a plethora of ways that I think we can assist people, but it will be a lot of constant content creation, I think, as we keep going and as needs arise and as we learn what are the best educational sources to give people on each of these different functions on a contract.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be just one time that we do it and say, okay, here's what it is. Like, it's going to be ever evolving and changing, and we'll be adding different information as, if we see people asking the same question in the Discord, well, it makes sense to then add that into our help tools so that that question can be already answered and people have that full gambit of information to rely on.
It's kind of cool too, because I kind of see it as like we're almost building an army. So like as our community grows and people that are really loving what we're building and loving the ecosystem, I feel like we then are educating hundreds of people, that are able to be knowledgeable and able to help assist answer kind of questions that are maybe more redundant too, which we've already seen, I think, even in our Telegram chat, with new members that come in and have questions. Like, I feel like there's so much education that's already happened in the first 2 weeks just on what our project is. And I think it's pretty cool to see how organic that learning can really be.
Now, I know like you guys have other use cases, right, for the coding side and helping people in the space. I know we've spent a good deal of time talking about deployment or contract creation, but there are other layers to that which revolve around, coding for DApp creation for projects, as well as like landing or web pages. So I did want to have you guys go into a little bit on the alternative kind of services that you guys can help when it comes to creation or coding.
Yeah, so the next step, so this is kind of the first entrance, and then we've touched quite a bit on our multi-sig builder that will be coming next. And then really it's like, okay, so people have launched these contracts, they're wanting to give utility to their tokens. So like having a DApp builder is going to be critical, I think, to our ecosystem. So that's definitely one of our huge priorities. Obviously, it's critical just to our revenue sharing model that we're wanting to do for our token holders. So that'll be something we're trying to develop and audit and have the UI ready as soon as possible. So I think that's a huge part of really the revenue generation, but also like really setting ourselves apart as more of a full picture for people that are creating contracts with us, that there's really utility they can add to their projects that's custom natured. So I think if you look at our UI and how we've designed how you deploy a contract, I think we're proving in the space that each of the utilities that we're putting forward are going to be kind of similar in the sense of our UI is going to be updated, obviously. Some people might look at it and be like, it seems a little simple or it's not perfect. Like, we realize that functionality was our priority right now, but the UI overhaul will come. But I think we're showcasing that we love to offer kind of really unique customizations that will be the same thing with our DApp builder, is trying to think through what are ways that people like to have utility dApps, what are the kinds of staking mechanisms people like to use, and let's make sure that we offer as much customization as possible so that it's really unique and something that people are really interested in using for their projects.
Again, I don't want to go too deep into that side of things because it's, in the future, but I did just want to bring it up. And I think why it's a smart kind of transition or second stepping stone within the coding realm is, oftentimes most projects probably coming to you guys would start out as like community tokens or more narrative or meme plays, you would think, in the early stages, right? Just the way it is, it's a little bit easier. There's not as much complexity. It's more so about focusing on the community. Well, once it launches, what comes next, right? Well, if the community builds and holds strong for a couple of weeks or a month, well, then you want a little bit more. And that's where you guys could help them out with some of the DApp creation and the other tools, right? It kind of supports a project throughout its life cycle at different stages. So it makes sense that you guys would scale it out in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. We want to have as many utilities as possible that will create successful projects.
And we won't be the project that stops developing. Like we have this full vision, like we've kind of tried to express to our community and anybody new. Like we developed this we started this months and months and months ago before a token even existed and before we were making any money on this idea. It's just like it was like a dream. And so like we have no reason to stop developing. Like so even once the DApp builder's out, obviously then like as innovation happens and as new strategies come out, like we can keep implementing those innovations into our software that's already out, but also into creating more and more custom tools that can be used on the blockchain. So I think we're here for the long haul. So it's like I hope people realize that I think there's a lot of utility projects that kind of have like their one thing that they decide to do, and then maybe the development stops. And that's nothing at all that we're interested in.
Yeah, we'll have continuous upgrades and new development. We want to have we'll have NFTs eventually. We'll be advising. We'll have pre-sales. All sorts of stuff that we want to do to help support the people.
Love that. So going into like the branding, right? I wanted to talk about some of the stuff you guys are doing at Factory on your own end to help with the branding, the marketing, and your own community formation. I think the name itself, super clever, very good ticker symbol as well. I think for a utility project, it has a catchy, like a trendy feel to it. And how are you guys going to kind of push and grow your own community through the ability to engage and help other communities grow? I think that it's like that tying together factor is what I'm trying to get to with this question. I guess I can rephrase it. So
Nathan?
I'll put it in the phrase of, the reason I ask this is because a lot of the times I've seen this is an issue that other or past deployers have faced, is you're bringing a almost preset group of investors from Factory in the early stages of these projects, because those are the people who are going to get the first exposure likely to the tokens that deploy through your token forge. So with that being said, you want to make sure like you guys aren't just giving these developers a base of investors and money is coming from your community only. It has to come to a point where you guys start gaining benefit back from the community growth and from those communities that come and deploy through Factory. So that's kind of, if that maybe ties the question a little bit better, that's what I was getting at with that one.
Yeah, absolutely, because it can only go so far if we aren't constantly marketing ourselves and trying to get that name out there more. Absolutely. And I appreciate the question, because it does show whether we want to stay where we're at or we want to grow. And we do want to grow, and we want to increase our presence because we want to be able to help as many people as possible. And so part of that is working on developing partnerships and relationships right now, but we will continue to work on those. And we have some we're in talks with a few different people with some Telegram bots that would they would notify of different deploys that are happening through ChainFactory, and they can go out to all sorts of different Telegrams, and it would say it's a new deploy, and we would still have that it is deployed through ChainFactory on there, so that people know, okay, this is a new one and it's from this builder. So that's kind of one of the ways that I see as a really good way to tie it back into it. Obviously, the more partnerships we can get, the more our name can get out there in the space, and the more people that use it. We don't want to, we're saying we want to open this up to everyone, but we don't want it to be limited to non-coders either. We would love for developers to come and build on the tool, because that's exceptional marketing and stuff there for us as well. So I think just that constant growth, the relationships, and making sure that we're going to be supporting and advising all of these groups. And then we will also have on our webpage, once we start getting more deploys, we will have a list of the projects that have deployed through ChainFactory on there as well.
I think one thing I would add is I love that for our investors or our token holders or stakers in the future, it's clear that in order for us to have the reach that we want to have, our Factory token has to be successful. So, and I think if you know anything about this space, like the more successful your token is, the higher your market cap, the greater your community, the greater influence you have with really touching some really significant influence in the space where you get so many more eyes on you and so many different levels of partnerships. So I would just say we have such a focus on making sure that our token project itself is very successful so that our ecosystem can gain from that benefit, if that makes sense. So absolutely, it's partnership based. It's having partnerships with some of the best projects and having them have eyes on us and us have eyes on them, so that those projects are also then beneficial to people who use our software. So that we don't just partner with anybody to partner with somebody because of hype, but there's so many good tech in this space that I think what we're creating is almost like a perfect union for so much of what's being developed already, whether it's Telegram bots or other AI assist stuff like you talked about, sentiment AI. Like there's just so many great products that are great for us to be partnered with. And I think we're noticing that as our chart is fairly healthy. I'm not trying to brag or anything like that, but I feel like our community has been excellent and our chart displays it. And we're seeing so many more opportunities for us to talk to people in the space that probably maybe never even would have talked to us if it wasn't for having such a successful token to this point. So it feels like that influence is only going to grow and it's only going to create more opportunities for our ecosystem and then our users going forward.
I love that. And I think you guys have laid out some pretty good points for us. And again, from just listening to you and, understanding a little bit more about the project, it's the focus on education, onboarding, and support that I like. It's not just like, hey, come use our deployer, and then you're out in the wild, like, enjoy the cold, right? So that's really been tough. And I think it's, I touched on perception earlier, and I think it's why, other projects who have maybe gone this route have struggled in the past. But, if you guys continue to show that you're focused on the community building, you're focused on the onboarding, the knowledge base, it may take a little bit longer than you may like, but although I will say the chart's been doing great, so it's kind of happening hand in hand right now. Oftentimes people pay attention to that in the longer term than maybe some flash or hype. So just keep going it as it is. As you said, you spent 6 months building it. You want to make sure you focus on the right level of base and then kind of scale up from there. And as I said, off to a great start so far from everything I've seen, and the way that the community is responding from the chart perspective. I'm not a chart guy, so I will say I always have to give credit though when the chart's looking nice. I always do. Now I do want to go into the partnership aspect of the project, right? Because you guys have announced some impressive ones this week, and it's always kind of more so along the same kind of question for me when it's around the topic of partnerships is, what do you look for? Like, what kind of brought you or gravitated you towards those projects that you guys have announced with so far? And then, like, what are you looking for as you go into future partnerships? Because the reason I ask is, a lot of times people who listen back may have projects, may be involved in other communities, and it's all about trying to connect, people around the space.
Yeah, I think for me, when I'm looking at the partnerships, I'm really looking at what the team is doing and how they're trying to help. Because for me, it is all about that help and that support. And when we've looked at these and when they've been brought to us, we've got two amazing advisors, like you had said, in Osiris and Dr. DeFi, and they have been instrumental in helping us talk to these different groups. And when I've been looking at what they have, it's a lot of their heart and what they're trying to do and where they want to go and where they want to take the space. Because I really want this to be a better place. I don't like the narrative that it has, that most of the projects launched are scams or they're rugs or they're, it's time for a change. And if we can partner ourselves with projects that are looking to do the same thing and bring education and awareness, I think that is something that we really need to focus on. And I think another really important partner that we had, they gave us advice and they were along with us even before we started, was Crypto Frogs. And they have been really, really instrumental as well in helping us get our feet under us, talk with us, get us even hooked up with these advisors that we have now. So between the Frogs and Dr. DeFi and Osiris, and then getting into these partnerships, I feel like we're able to get in front of those people that have the right hearts and the right mindset, because those advisors know what we're trying to do as well.
Yeah, and we're looking heavily into partnering with people who have products that are kind of already working and have a use case for our users and our token itself. So like, I mean, one good example would be everybody has like Chatter Shield in their Telegram, and we use it and it's great. But we kind of early on started a partnership with RaidShark because that was something that seemed really awesome for our community, where it was like, hey, it's a way to promote giveaways for people that are raiding Twitter, and they did their own or they did a skin for us specifically for our Telegram that was unique, and that team was really cool to work with. And so they're kind of like a good example. Same with Sentiment AI and OTC, is like finding partners that when you talk to them, you realize that they want to work with you and they seem interested in what we're doing. I think that's important for me, is it's like when you meet a partnership where they're actually intrigued by what you're doing, and they love the idea of us trying to bring education to the space, and they seem equally innovative in their technology or in how they see themselves kind of in the future of the space. I think that's just, it sometimes just feels natural, I guess, to partner with people that you can kind of tell are just trying to do it the way you're trying to do it. They might have a different kind of technology, but man, it's really enjoyable to partner with other teams that have a like mind and a like heart, like Nathan said, to what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and definitely, like you touched on, Ben, like having partnerships and looking for partnerships that already have working products, because we recognize that we have 3 devs and we have lofty goals, and we know that what we are building is going to take a lot. So finding partnerships, like landing page builders, those take time to develop. So maybe we need to look at someone where we can try and partner up there. And if we can find people with those already working products, then that stands to benefit us and then the community as well.
That's really smart. And again, I really enjoyed kind of speaking to you guys and chatting a little bit more. Now, I know there's always going to be pieces of the puzzle, pieces of the project I forget, or we don't go as in depth as, the team would like. So I always give maybe 10, 15 minutes towards the back end for the team to jump into anything you think we didn't cover in as much depth as you would like, or, this is where we also will kind of slot in some community-based questions. But for me, where you guys are starting, and it's kind of all about now pushing the marketing and growing the adoption within the token forge and kind of scaling up, behind the scenes.
Yeah, that marketing and the adoption is definitely the phase we're in. And I think, one of the big things to even just remember and think about when people hear about ChainFactory, we don't want people to just think that, oh, it's another token builder, right? Yeah, we have a token builder. That is kind of that entrance. Michael had a great analogy in one of our chats. He said that's the funnel into our ecosystem. And yes, we have that token builder. That's what would get you your contract. But the one thing I really want to stress and touch on is that full-on ecosystem. It's that support. It's all of the products that as a non-coder you would never be able to create and even maybe know that you would need. If you're new to it and you haven't done a contract, you wouldn't know that a multi-sig wallet would be a beneficial item to have in your contract. And so we want to have those around, and we're going to have that full-on factory, right? That's where a lot of the name came from. We have these different parts of the factory where you can build all sorts of different dApps, from the staking dApp, and then a builder for the multi-sig, and the LP tools and vesting schedulers, all sorts of things, NFTs that we want to have and will have in this to support you. And then that's not even touching on the educational materials so that we can support and grow and help those succeed. There's so much that we want to do. So I would urge everyone not to just think of us as a token builder.
100%. And I definitely would think of you guys more as like an education or support platform. Yeah, there's like the token token builder right now. I know you guys have plans to scale that up as well in the future. But the reason why I like it and it stood out to me is because of the focus on the actual education side. If you didn't see if you didn't see longevity in your project, you just try and push people to use it. You wouldn't actually care about helping them or trying to make it sustainable and a friendly user experience. I know because I worked in sales and with products, so that's from a customer standpoint, you guys definitely care about your customers, and you have to be thinking longer term to have that approach, in my opinion. So again, I like the way you guys have approached this. I love the focus on education. I mean, just having Michael himself up on us with the call to like 3 a.m. over there and jump into the space with us yesterday. It clearly shows that your team, your devs are willing to step outside of their comfort zone, push themselves. What did he say? Like 4 coffees and 2 Red Bulls deep to try and make it through. So, big respect to you, Michael, over there. Falling asleep on us and said he didn't know if he's going to make it.
I hope he is asleep, but maybe he's not. Yeah, this is our baby, man. It's like I think it's cool. It's been cool to see our community, I think, put a lot of get a lot of joy kind of maybe out of who we are as a team, like, and just that we believe in one another and we believe in this project and we believe in this community. And so it's yeah, we're gonna grind, man. We're gonna work our tails off to do the best we can by our investors and by this vision that we set out for 6 months to a year ago. So it's gonna be hard work, but we're here for it.
What's that, Michael?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to share. That if I have to eat sand, I will eat sand. I mean, 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. I don't care. I mean, this is my passion. This is my baby. So I will defend it. I will support it. I will do whatever I can,
I love it. And again, I know you guys are kind of working behind the scenes. I know obviously there are some good developers and, individuals in the space who have, some connections and a bit more experience launching on the token side. So, it makes sense if you guys can maybe secure some of those guys to utilize the token forge for their next project. That's going to bring some positive attention. So I think that's a good way you could scale as well. You have some good connections, through your advisory panel and, on the team. So no, I'm definitely excited. That kind of adds another layer as well, because I asked that question about like how you guys are going to gain from projects. Well, that would be one big way, right? Coming with teams or developers that have the experience and proven track records and just getting them to utilize and showcase your tech during their next deployment. That's going to really help you guys get some traction and recognition as well. So I'm really excited, to see how you guys do with that, because that's, for me, that's kind of going to be a big catalyst, I think, for you.
Yep, we know that too. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, again, anything else you guys think? I'm going to start to read through a few of the questions now that have been sent to me. I normally try and save a few unless my coordinator asks me and says, hey, try and work this one in. You guys haven't really touched on it. I try and save them for the end. Now, this one plays into what we just talked about. You know what? I'll bring this up. This one's from Gringy. His question is on the topic of, getting good teams or good developers to work with you guys. Are you going to have some kind of a bounty program or referral bonus where if somebody sets up, a proven team or a team with previous projects that have done well to deploy through the token forge, maybe they get a small amount of supply or small airdrop from that deployment as a benefit for bringing in business? You can almost utilize that as a business development team in-house, or acting ambassadors, however you want to describe them.
I think we're going to need to figure out a strategy for getting optimum benefit, to having legit developers and teams using our products and promoting our products. There's definitely going to have to be a benefit to them. So we're going to have to figure out referrals and coupons and discounts and affiliates, and I think that's absolutely what our vision is going to have to be.
Yeah, and we do have that kind of planned with once the stake goes live, as far as having not necessarily exactly what the question was, but having referrals and coupons and discounts based on your stake, We do know that that's something that we will have to do. And I think that's a great comment, and something that we should certainly take away is making sure that we have those referrals once the stakes are live.
Yeah, and if I can speak about the first launching project, we already are talking to some developers that want to launch a project on ChainFactory, and we definitely want to help the early pioneers on our platform. So definitely stay tuned for that.
Awesome. No, I think that's again something you definitely have to work out how it benefits you guys as a project, and how like also people kind of bringing in business benefit. You know, I wouldn't want to recommend giving out any supply of factory, but if there's an ability for small airdrops to be created through the token forge, maybe they could set aside a very small percentage of the overall supply and allocate that as a referral pool. That could be a way to not affect your project, but still give benefits to those pushing your utility.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Awesome. Now, okay, yeah, no, so we touched on it a little bit earlier, but I think Dwicky had joined a little bit. He said, you guys had mentioned in your white paper, benefits for token holders as you add in additional utilities or tools into the contract creator. Could you just go back through and summarize, if I'm staked within your stake to earn revenue pool, what types of discounts can I get if I'm deploying a contract?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have it on a sliding scale, and the discounts would be based on the percent of supply that you have staked. So 0.1% to 0.499% would get a 10% discount. So that's 75,000 would be the 0.1%. 0.5% to 0.99% of supply. So 375,000 factory up to just under 750,000 would get a 25% discount. And then 1% supply staked would be 750,000 plus, would get a 50% discount on the use of the tools.
And that's not just the forge, that's every tool that's coming down the pipeline.
So thanks so much for the reclarification, guys. And Dwicky, thank you for the question and for actually going into the white paper and doing some of your own homework. That's what we want to see.
Smart investor.
So, and currently right now, any deployment is 25% off because we realize our staking is not live. So actually right now, until our staking is live, even as we add chains to our deployer, everything is 25% off.
Awesome. So, and, you guys touched on obviously deploying to certain networks are going to come with this, those associated gas fees. So one of our users here, Henry, he was curious if there's an ability to like almost run through a trial version when you're setting up the contract or the CA before like you actually have to have it live, because he's like, the worst thing that could happen for somebody is when they're new is to go through and hit the wrong button and then have to pay a fee of what could be $100, couple $100 depending on what the gas fees at the time might be. Absolutely.
You should have, if there was a camera in my office when I was doing the factory token, you would have seen sweat dripping down my armpits. Absolutely, the test net, so Sepolia would be your trial area, and we do have that as almost kind of like, it's like a proving grounds where you can go, and if you have Sepolia ETH, obviously you would need that, so stack that up before you go and do it. You can try out the different functions and see what your token looks like. You can try the different variables within the functions. That testnet is the trial area, and then once you're comfortable with what you've done and you know exactly which functions you want, you would be able to move over to a mainnet. Perfect. And I have a couple other interesting questions here. This one,
it's an interesting one in nature because there is a lot of duplication of names in a sense in the space. But this question comes from Attican. His question is, in the sense of copycatting a project, do you guys have any rules in place so that teams can't, for example, take a project that's running to 100 million, copy their logo, try and knock off their ticker, and then just maybe launch it on a different or a similar chain? Because, he said in his experience, oftentimes these types of plays are done by lazy devs or lazy people just trying to take advantage of the market, which I 100% agree with.
Yeah, well, you see those contracts, you can tell that they're basically like a copy paste of other ones. Unfortunately, that gets into the bad actors, and everyone could copy and paste a contract once it's verified on the Block Explorer. So even if we had things in place, anyone would be able to then go and just copy whatever that contract was doing. I don't know if we have anything specifically to prevent any of that. I would have to defer to Michael to know if we have anything on that.
You cannot prevent that, basically, because name and the ticker means basically nothing for the blockchain. It always looks for the contract address. So you can have like 1,000 tokens with the same ticker. It doesn't mean anything for the blockchain. So the blockchain always looks for the contract address.
Awesome. I love that. And Attican, great question, man. I'm going to pull up my second one here. This one is more of a suggestion from an OG in the channel, T-Rex. A piece of what I heard the team say earlier is that you guys are really planning on focusing on the educational side of things. I love that. Not enough teams that are building out utilities or just projects in general in this space really try and help people interacting with their platform. Now, a lot of the times, though, what we see is most of the content, most of the support is primarily available within English. With so many of people coming into crypto being outside or non-English speaking individuals, how do you guys plan to capitalize and really help out that part of the market? So again, great identification there, Rex, on a huge part of the market there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is kind of part of why we wanted to have educational materials in video and in text and in any medium that we think people may be able to learn in. The tokenomics videos that Ben had, that he's made, we've added subtitles to those. So anything that we do could be taken and put into a translator. But right now we haven't made plans to say we will have all of the educational materials in all of these different languages. Not saying that if it's something that the community says they really, really need, well, we want to help people, right? So for me, anything is an option if there's enough of a need for it.
Awesome.
But Google Translate's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, and I mean, there's obviously various AI tools and things that can be, somewhat easily incorporated or integrated in, right? Just because they're open source. So yeah, no, I appreciate that question though, Rex. Really, really smart. And I agree with you. Some of the best ideas and some of my favorite projects are from teams who, required a translator to be on the channel. So awesome.
Yep, absolutely. It was a great question.
And maybe we'll get I think Vlad, those were the two he really wanted to re-highlight to me. Okay, we'll get Sue to maybe come up for a live question because he always has some good ones. And then I have one from Karen that while I'm waiting for his mic, sometimes it's a little bit fidgety. Karen's quick question is, if I launched a token and potentially wanted to later add a governance functionality within it, is this a change that would be possible to make within the contract manager, or would I have to, at that point, migrate or create a secondary token or secondary deployment?
So the governance aspect of a token would be that multi-sign wallet that we're creating. And that would be something that you don't have to create a new contract for that. You can have that. You could create a multi-sign for your already existing contract, which is what we will be doing with Factory here once we have the tool ready.
Perfect. So Karen, I like that one. So maybe we'll get PCI in and Sujay in to ask a couple questions. I did probably, I said budget about 90 minutes, guys. I apologize. It's kind of going closer to 2 hours. We'll get Sue and PCI in here for a couple questions live on the mic. And then if it's okay, we'll kind of wrap to closing statements. And yeah, really enjoyable though, man. Really enjoyed hosting you guys. Some good discussion and some solid questions, ideas coming in from the audience in terms of different markets and whatnot. So thanks everybody who's participated so far.
Hey, thanks, Maurice. A lot of projects these days are making it easier and easier for non-coders, non-developers to sort of launch tokens. I've seen Telegram bots which can be used to launch a token. I don't know if you plan to go down that route also along with your website, but I personally like the website much better. It gives you a lot more confidence in what you're doing and a better user interface than using a bot. My question was with you did a great job demonstrating the whole process of creating a token and deploying it. The one thing I had questions on was the advanced compiler settings and what exactly this could be used for. Is it only for optimizing how your contract is compiled before deployment, or could I add custom functions that I might have used in another project and sort of port them to a contract that is created using ChainFactory?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. Thank you so much. Before we get to that one, I do want to just touch on the TG bot that you had kind of asked if we were going to go that way. No, we're going to stay with the web UI. We will not have a TG bot that will be part of ChainFactory. We're always just going to have this web UI because with those TG bots, you do need to input that private key, and we don't think that that's safe for the people using our products. With the advanced compiler settings, what that does is it allows you to change the primary name of the contract and the optimized runs for the moment. That's what you can do in that part.
Oh, okay. So that probably will change the gas somehow, I guess, depending on what values I use, or if I override the default values.
Yeah, so Michael had kind of touched on that. If you increase increase the optimization runs, then you as the deployer, you would pay more gas on your deployment. Like you would pay more for that deployment, but the users of your token, they would pay less gas on the swaps.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I get it. Second quick question is, would I be able to deploy simultaneously on multiple chains, or would I have to go through the process twice and select the chain that I want to deploy on and go through the process twice?
We are working on multi-chain, so we do have plans and will have multi-chain available with your tokens that you have deployed. You will be able to deploy with the same contract address on the multi-chain once that's all set up. Okay. I don't know, personally, I don't know if it would be like a simultaneous deploy or if you need to deploy on the one chain and then through the multi-chain deploy with the same address.
If I can add maybe some add-on question, what you want to or why you want to deploy on multi-chain? Do you want to have your token to be able to live on multiple chains at once, like with the same supply, or want to have your?
Let's say I wanted to deploy with the exact same tokenomics, exact same supply, everything being same, but I wanted to deploy it on 2 different blockchains at the same time.
And then no, you just want to deploy on one chain and then use the bridge once it's ready.
Yeah, I think that's all the questions I had. Thank you very much. You covered most of what you have there in detail, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, Appreciate
Thank you for the questions.
So, PCI, if you're ready, you could go ahead and jump in. And yeah, great back and forth, guys. PCI, you're up.
Yep, thank you. My question was kind of touched before, but now, it's for example, a thing comes to you, they want to release their own contract, not just a meme-based one, but a decent one, with a good background, roadmap, etc. But they secretly decided to, from the beginning, to do a soft farm after a while and leave the project to, to die. But you actually managed to discover that. Is there any way for you to protect the investors from that, like whether it is by refunding, taking off the liquidity and giving it to the affected people, etc.? Because you never know. There's a lot of people with bad intentions everywhere. So I know that you guys like everything, it is secure so far, for what I can tell, and I have seen through the AMA. But you never know.
Unfortunately, yeah, that's. Go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say, I think in a perfect world, we maybe kind of all want that ability, but it just feels like it's just not possible for us to. We don't want to have our forge be something where we somehow own the contract and not the creators. So I think we want to stay in the kind of the heart of blockchain and DeFi in that sense, but we know that means we can't then control it all either. But I don't think that was ever necessarily our intention, but we wanted to create an ecosystem where it kind of just keeps funneling better and better projects as they use more of our tools. So that's something that we can showcase is, okay, this project launched with our deployer, they're using our vesting scheduler, their LP is locked in our locker. Like there are stages kind of deployment and stages of use of our tools that will kind of showcase, I would say, the.
Lost you there, Ben.
Yeah, no worries. So I think just on that, that kind of touches on the whole bad actors in the space, and unfortunately, we can't do anything with it. When someone does the deploy, they do use our deployer, but that wallet that they use is the one that has the access to the liquidity, and they have everything else in there. So unfortunately, no, we cannot prevent bad people from doing bad things. One of the analogies I had heard is, you could hit someone with your car if you wanted to. We aren't going to be able to you can't prevent someone from doing that. So it's essentially kind of the same thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. But is there a way for you to implement a filter for new teams that you don't know about, for to double check or triple check or quadruple check that they don't have bad intentions? Because in the end, that will be good for your project and their project.
Oh, absolutely. If there was a way that we could.
If I can,
go ahead.
It's basically it's decentralized. So once someone uses our tool, he's the owner of the contract. So it's definitely a way to prevent this, but it would be centralized. So we could control this, but then we would be the owner of all contracts under our deployer. So that's the only way how we could manage everything or prevent everything. But then we would be the owners of all contracts that are basically built on ChainFactory. So I'm not sure if anyone would like to basically put the trust in our hands. So yeah, if anyone wants to deploy a contract on ChainFactory, it's basically he's the owner of the contract. So we cannot do anything about it. We can just notify you that he locked the liquidity, the trading is open, maybe he vested some tokens and stuff like that, but we cannot manage the contract. We can only notify you.
I had another question, but it was answered already by you guys. It was asked by Sue. But it is a great project, and it was a great AMA. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry that I
Oh,
went off there. I guess my monitor fell asleep.
No, that's okay, man. Nathan came on and got it all covered. Then Michael jumped in as well with some points. So I appreciate all the help there on that Q&A, and nice to see you back there, Ben. No, again, anything else, guys? If you want, if you guys want to get any other points across, obviously. I've really enjoyed hosting you guys. Otherwise, I don't think we would have been able to run this one for 2 hours. I always say when we're having a good time, it does often run a little bit long. Although I budgeted 90, it still kind of pushed over my point of view. But no, still really enjoyed it. A lot of helpful information, and no, that demonstration that you did for us, Nathan, as Sue said earlier, really helpful. Super easy to follow, and it was nice being able to ask you some questions and get a live, answer while you had everything in front of us. That was really cool for me. Personally, I love when we can get these demos done, and I always advise teams to do them, but not everybody always takes advantage of that. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. That I love that person.
Yeah, absolutely. I was so excited to be able to do that, and truly appreciate you having us on. I also have had a great time. It's been awesome to be on here and to get to share. I know Ben and Michael, they both said this is their baby. I think it's, for the team itself, this is our baby, and we have worked on it for so long. It's so great to be able to share it with such a great audience. We appreciate you for having us. We appreciate your community. The questions were spectacular, and just great. We appreciate everyone here.
Yeah, thanks, Maurice. You're a great host. Made it really easy. Great crowd, great questions. Really impressed by how you do your AMAs, and honored to be on with you guys.
As again, I've said it for a couple of years, it's a lot easier for me to host a project with some depth with the team that had planning and strategy gone into the project versus, some of those memes or, narrative-based plays are a little bit lacking of depth, I find. So, they can still be good, nothing against any type of play in the space, but at least from a hosting perspective, I definitely prefer this. You can get your feet a little bit more wet and really jump into a nice back and forth discussion. So again, guys, I'm excited to try and work with you guys. We're going to get something together, a little bit shorter form, even if it's just like a 10-minute walkthrough of the demo again without the AMA, so that people can, not have to listen to everything, to be able to pull back, and that gives you guys that secondary marketing tool, which I think is always great for projects to have. So we'll chat in that group, the advisors group there we have set up, and kick some ideas around and roll that out. But yeah, no, just keep pushing ahead. It's been a great start, since your launch in December. A couple of good partnerships under your belt. The community's growing. You guys are, closing in on 500 holders, and as we said, once some deploys happen, maybe some bigger teams come over, you guys have a project get deployed that pops off, maybe on a different chain to a couple million. You just never know when a catalyst can happen with this type of project. So make sure, if you guys haven't, jump into the community, do your research, follow along as they update and release new information on the platform, on their token forge. And as staking goes live, that's going to be another big one, as we talk about the stake to earn model. But yeah, appreciate you guys all coming by. I know Doc had to jump off, so, big shout out to Dr. DeFi as well, who's been one of the advisors, as well as Osiris. I worked with him on Cent. And then, Michael, Ben, and Nathan, you guys, again, been a treat to host. Michael, go to bed, man. I know it's a weekend. You're supposed to be able to stay up late, but brother, get some sleep. And other than that, we'll chat in that group, and we'll get the YouTube video sorted for the demo.
Yeah,
Perfect.
cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.